The Galactic Academy. Professor Zixera stood before her class of alien cadets, her iridescent scales shimmering under the soft light of the lecture hall. The Galactic Military Academy was the pride of the Alliance, a melting pot of species from across the known universe. Today's lesson promised to be particularly intriguing. An introduction to human military history. Sentience, Zixera began, her multifaceted eyes scanning the room. Today we delve into the military tactics of one of the galaxy's most perplexing species, humans. A low murmur rippled through the classroom. Humans were still relatively new to the Galactic Alliance, having joined only 2 decades ago. Their rapid ascension through the ranks had been a source of both admiration and concern. Before we begin, Zixera continued, I want you to forget everything you think you know about conventional warfare. Humans have a knack for turning military doctrine on its head. She activated the holographic display, and a series of Earth's historical battles flickered to life in the center of the room. The Battle of Thermopylae, the crossing of the Alps by Hannibal, the D-Day landings, each scene played out in stunning detail. What do you notice about these engagements? Zixera asked. A Phrygian cadet, his gelatinous form quivering with excitement, spoke up. The humans are always outnumbered, Professor, yet they prevail. Excellent observation, Cadet Glocks, Zixera nodded. Humans have a long history of overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds. But how? The hologram shifted to show a human chess game. Humans excel at strategic thinking. They can anticipate multiple moves ahead and adapt their plans on the fly. But more importantly, they're willing to take risks that most species would consider foolhardy. The scene changed again, this time showing human extreme sports, skydiving, free climbing, deep-sea diving. Several cadets gasped. Humans have an almost pathological need to push boundaries, Zixera explained. They voluntarily put themselves in danger for the thrill of it. This translates to a military mindset that's unlike anything the galaxy has seen before. A Vanxi cadet raised a tentacle. But Professor, surely their recklessness is a weakness. How can an entire species survive with such disregard for safety? Zixera's scales rippled with amusement. An excellent question, Cadet Zorn. You'd think so, wouldn't you? But humans have turned this apparent weakness into their greatest strength. They call it thinking outside the box, the ability to come up with solutions that no one else would consider. The hologram now displayed a series of human inventions: the wheel, the printing press, the airplane, the internet. Humans are innovators. When faced with a problem, they don't just look for existing solutions, they create new ones. The cadets watched in fascination as the progression of human technology played out before them. Zixera could see the mix of awe and unease on their faces. Good. They were beginning to understand the complexity of the species they were studying. But perhaps the most crucial aspect of human military thinking is their ability to unite in the face of adversity, Zixera continued. The hologram showed scenes of human cooperation during natural disasters, international aid efforts, and global scientific collaborations. Humans have a saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They can set aside deep-rooted differences when faced with a common threat. This ability to form coalitions, even with former enemies, has proven to be one of their greatest tactical advantages. As the class progressed, Zixera guided the cadets through a series of human military campaigns, each more audacious than the last. The cadets were particularly stunned by the guerrilla tactics employed during Earth's various resistance movements. But Professor, a Malorian cadet chirped, her feathers ruffling in confusion. These tactics seem dishonorable. How can ambushes and sabotage be considered valid military strategies? Zixera's scales darkened slightly, a sign of seriousness among her species. Cadet Lyra, you've just highlighted one of the most crucial lessons about human warfare. They don't fight for honor. They fight to win. And they'll use every tool at their disposal to do so. The hologram now showed the aftermath of human conflicts: rebuilt cities, peace treaties, international cooperation. However, don't mistake their tactical brutality for a lack of ethics. Humans have also developed some of the most comprehensive rules of warfare in the galaxy. They constantly grapple with the morality of their actions, which, paradoxically, allows them to make the hard decisions when necessary. As the class neared its end, Zix could see the impact of the lesson on her students. They looked simultaneously intrigued and unsettled. Exactly the reaction she'd hoped for. "For your assignment," she announced, "I want you to analyze a human battle of your choice and prepare a presentation on how their tactics differed from conventional Galactic Alliance strategies. And remember, the goal isn't to judge, but to understand." As the cadets filed out of the classroom, their excited chatter filling the air, Zix allowed herself a small smile. These young beings were the future of the Galactic Alliance's military, and they needed to be prepared for the new era of warfare that humanity's inclusion had ushered in. Little did she know that their newfound understanding of human tactics would soon be put to the test in a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. First contact shock. 20 years earlier, the day of first contact between humanity and the Galactic Alliance had been a watershed moment in interstellar history. The Alliance's first encounter with the human race had left them utterly bewildered, challenging everything they thought they knew about emerging spacefaring civilizations. Admiral Corax of the Galactic Alliance stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Celestial Harmony, as it approached the third planet of the Sol system. His segmented exoskeleton gleamed under the ship's lights, and his compound eyes took in the myriad of readouts from the ship's sensors. "Status report," he commanded, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. His second in command, a willowy Illyrian named Vela, responded promptly. "Sir, we're detecting numerous artificial satellites in orbit around the planet. There's also a small space station. And, sir, you're not going to believe this, but there are primitive spacecraft headed towards one of this system's outer planets." Corax's antennae twitched in surprise. "Impossible. Our intel suggested this species had only recently discovered radio waves. They shouldn't have any space presence at all." As the Celestial Harmony drew closer to Earth, the crew's amazement only grew. They detected sprawling cities, a global communication network, and clear signs of a civilization on the brink of true spacefaring capability. "Sir," Vela reported, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with excitement, "we're picking up transmissions from the planet. They've detected us." Corax straightened his posture. This was the moment he'd trained for his entire career. "Open a channel. Let's make first contact." What followed was a series of exchanges that left the Alliance crew stunned. The humans, far from being awed or intimidated by the advanced alien civilization, were enthusiastic, curious, and remarkably composed. Within hours of first contact, human leaders were already discussing potential technological exchanges, diplomatic relations, and even the possibility of joining the Galactic Alliance. Their quick adaptation and eagerness to engage on an interstellar level was unprecedented. "Admiral," Vela said, her voice filled with wonder, "they're requesting permission to send a delegation to our ship. They want to begin negotiations immediately." Corax's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of his astonishment. "Already? But they haven't even had time to process our existence, let alone consider the implications of joining an interstellar alliance." Nevertheless, he granted permission, and soon a small human craft was docking with the Celestial Harmony. The Alliance crew watched in fascination as the human delegation boarded, their eyes wide with wonder, but their demeanor remarkably composed. The leader of the human delegation, a woman named Dr. Samantha Chen, stepped forward. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to Earth," she said, her voice steady and her gaze direct. "We look forward to learning from you and sharing our own knowledge in return." Over the next few days, as negotiations progressed at a breakneck pace, Corax and his crew found themselves constantly surprised by the humans. Their adaptability, their thirst for knowledge, and their ability to think creatively were unlike anything the Alliance had encountered before. But it was during a tour of one of Earth's military installations that Corax truly began to understand the unique nature of human warfare. The human military leaders proudly showed off their advanced stealth technology, cyber warfare capabilities, and unconventional tactics. "You see, Admiral," General Marcus Blackwood explained, "we've always had to innovate to survive. Our history is filled with examples of smaller, less equipped forces defeating larger, more advanced opponents through sheer ingenuity and determination." Corax listened intently as the general outlined human military doctrine. The emphasis on flexibility, the integration of civilian technology into military applications, the focus on asymmetric warfare. It was all fascinatingly alien to the rigid, hierarchical military structure of the Alliance. "And this," General Blackwood said, gesturing to a group of soldiers in nondescript uniforms, "is our Special Forces unit. They're trained to operate in any environment, adapt to any situation, and use whatever tools are at hand to complete their mission." Corax watched as the soldiers demonstrated their skills, moving with a fluid grace that belied their deadly capabilities. He couldn't help but feel a mix of admiration and unease. These humans, with their unpredictable tactics and innovative thinking, would be formidable allies or terrifying enemies. As the tour concluded, Dr. Chen approached Corax. "Admiral, we've prepared a proposal for humanity's inclusion in the Galactic Alliance. We believe we have much to offer, particularly in terms of military strategy and technological innovation." Corax took the offered data pad, his mind racing. The speed at which humans had gone from first contact to proposing Alliance membership was unprecedented. But as he reviewed their proposal, he couldn't deny the potential benefits of including this dynamic, adaptable species in the Alliance. "Dr. Chen," he said finally, "I believe the Alliance Council will be very interested in this proposal. Your species' unique approach to, well, everything, could be a valuable asset to the galaxy." Dr. Chen smiled, a glint of excitement in her eyes. "We're looking forward to it, Admiral. Humanity is ready to take its place among the stars." As Corax prepared to return to Alliance space with the human proposal, he couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was about to change dramatically. Humanity's inclusion in the Alliance would bring new ideas, new technologies, and new ways of thinking that would reshape interstellar relations. Little did he know that humanity's unconventional approach to warfare would soon be put to the test in a conflict that would threaten the very existence of the Galactic Alliance. The Zorn invasion. 5 years after humanity's integration into the Galactic Alliance, the peace that had reigned for centuries was shattered. From the depths of uncharted space, a terrifying new enemy emerged: the Zorn Imperium. The Zorn were a hive-mind species driven by an insatiable hunger for resources and new territories to assimilate. Their massive organic ships darkened the skies of countless worlds as they swept through Alliance space, their attacks so sudden and overwhelming that traditional defense strategies crumbled in their wake. On the Alliance capital world of Harmony Prime, the Council of Elders convened an emergency session. Representatives from all member species gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall, their faces grim as reports of fallen worlds streamed in. High Elder Zixera, now serving on the council, took the floor. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her scales a dull gray reflecting the somber mood, "we face an unprecedented threat. The Zorn Imperium has already conquered a third of our territory. Our conventional tactics have proven ineffective against their biological technology and hive-mind coordination." Murmurs of despair rippled through the assembly. The Alliance military, long accustomed to small-scale peacekeeping operations, found itself woefully unprepared for full-scale war. It was then that the human representative, Ambassador Jack Harper, stood up. "Members of the Council," he said, his voice cutting through the din, "Earth has faced extinction-level threats before. We've learned that in times of great crisis, unconventional thinking is our greatest asset." All eyes turned to Harper as he activated the central hologram, displaying a strategic map of Alliance space. The Zorn's hive mind is their greatest strength, but it could also be their greatest weakness. We propose a plan that goes against everything in the Alliance military doctrine, but it might be our only chance." Over the next hour, Harper outlined a strategy that left many council members shocked and some outright appalled. It involved deliberate sacrifices of certain systems to lure the Zorn into vulnerable positions, cyber warfare tactics to disrupt their hive mind communication, and the use of controversial weapons that skirted the edge of Alliance ethical guidelines. "This is madness," exclaimed the Vanxi representative, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "You're proposing we abandon our own people, use untested technologies, and violate our most sacred military principles." Harper's eyes blazed with intensity. "What I'm proposing is survival. The Zorn don't play by our rules. If we stick to our conventional tactics, we're as good as defeated already." High Elder Zixera, remembering her years studying human military history, spoke up. "Ambassador Harper's proposal, while extreme, has merit. Humans have a history of prevailing against overwhelming odds through unconventional means." The debate raged for hours, but as reports of more fallen worlds came in, the Council reluctantly agreed to implement the human strategy. The plan was dubbed Operation Trojan Horse, a name that made Harper smile grimly. The next few months were the darkest the Alliance had ever faced. Entire systems were evacuated, their populations relocated in a massive logistical operation that strained the Alliance's resources to the breaking point. The abandoned worlds were seeded with hidden automated factories, each churning out swarms of microscopic robots designed to infiltrate and disrupt the Zorn's biological technology. Meanwhile, a joint task force of human hackers and Maloriantians worked tirelessly to crack the Zorn's hive mind communications. It was dangerous work. More than one Xian suffered mental breakdown from exposure to the alien group consciousness. The Alliance fleets adopted hit-and-run tactics, striking at Zorn supply lines, and then melting away before the full might of the enemy could be brought to bear. It was a far cry from the honorable head-on engagements that had been the hallmark of Alliance warfare for generations. Many Alliance military leaders struggled with these new tactics. Admiral Corax, now the supreme commander of the Alliance forces, found himself constantly at odds with his human advisors. "This is not how wars are meant to be fought," he complained during one particularly heated strategy session. Colonel Sarah Martinez, his chief human advisor, fixed him with a steely gaze. "With all due respect, Admiral, wars are meant to be won. Everything else is secondary." As the months wore on, the tide of war began to shift. The Zorn advance slowed, then stuttered, as they struggled to maintain their hive mind cohesion in the face of the Alliance's electronic and psionic attacks. Their biological ships, once thought invulnerable, began to show weakness as the swarms of nanobots infiltrated their systems. The turning point came at the Battle of Nexus Hub, a vital Zorn-controlled system that served as a major communication relay for their hive mind. A daring raid led by human special forces, supported by a mixed fleet of Alliance ships, managed to plant a siege. The Zorn invasion continued. The turning point came at the Battle of Nexus Hub, a vital Zorn-controlled system that served as a major communication relay for their hive mind. A daring raid led by human special forces, supported by a mixed fleet of Alliance ships, managed to plant a psionic disruptor at the heart of the Zorn's relay station. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. Across occupied Alliance space, Zorn ships suddenly lost coordination, their movements becoming erratic and confused. For the first time since the invasion began, the Alliance forces found themselves with a clear advantage. Admiral Corax, watching the battle unfold from the bridge of his flagship, felt a mix of awe and discomfort. This victory, while crucial, had been achieved through means he still struggled to fully accept. Colonel Martinez stood beside him, her eyes gleaming with fierce pride. "This is it, Admiral. The moment we've been waiting for. It's time to launch the counteroffensive." Corax nodded, pushing aside his reservations. "Very well, Colonel. Give the order. Let's take back our worlds." As news of the victory at Nexus Hub spread, A wave of hope swept through the beleaguered alliance. The human-inspired strategies, once viewed with skepticism and even outright hostility, were now embraced with newfound fervor. But the war was far from over. The Zorn, reeling from the loss of their central communication hub, fell back on more primitive, localized forms of coordination. They fought with the desperation of a cornered animal, and the battles to reclaim occupied worlds were fierce and costly. It was during this phase of the war that humanity's capacity for adaptation truly shone. As the Zorn tactics evolved, so did the Alliance's response, with humans often at the forefront of developing new strategies and technologies. One particularly notable innovation came from an unlikely source: a human video game designer named Akira Tanaka. Observing the Zorn's new decentralized command structure, Tanaka proposed a radical new approach to fleet coordination based on swarm intelligence algorithms used in real-time strategy games. Initially dismissed by many Alliance commanders as frivolous, Tanaka's Starswarm protocol proved remarkably effective in countering the Zorn's new tactics. Alliance ships, guided by this new system, moved with a fluidity and unpredictability that consistently outmaneuvered the enemy. As the war progressed, more and more Alliance species began to adopt human-inspired approaches to problem-solving. The rigid hierarchies and standardized procedures that had defined Alliance operations for centuries gave way to more flexible, adaptive structures. This shift wasn't without its challenges. Many traditionalists within the Alliance military and government resisted these changes, arguing that they were abandoning their principles in the face of adversity. But as victory after victory mounted, it became increasingly difficult to argue with the results. The final battle of the war took place in the Zorn home system. The Alliance fleet, a diverse armada representing every member species, faced off against the last bastion of the Zorn Imperium. Admiral Corax, standing on the bridge of his flagship, felt a profound sense of change as he surveyed his fleet. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved in perfect coordination, employing tactics that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. As the battle commenced, Corax found himself using strategies and terms that would have been alien to him before the war. "Launch the EMP drones," he ordered. "Have the Pshin squadron stand by for hive mind disruption. Starswarm Protocol Omega is in effect." The battle was intense, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The Alliance forces, tempered by years of hard fighting and armed with their new, adaptable strategies, systematically dismantled the Zorn defenses. In the end, it wasn't a barrage of weapons that ended the war, but a targeted strike by a small team of human and Malorian operatives. They managed to infiltrate the central hive cluster of the Zorn and broadcast a carefully crafted psionic signal that effectively paralyzed the entire Imperium. As the Zorn ships went dark and drifted aimlessly in space, a cheer went up across the Alliance fleet. The war was over. They had won. In the aftermath, as the Alliance began the long process of rebuilding, there was a palpable sense that nothing would ever be the same. Humanity's unorthodox approaches, once viewed with suspicion, were now being studied and adopted across Alliance space. Admiral Corax, writing his final report on the war, summed it up best. "The Zorn invasion forced us to confront our own limitations and preconceptions. In our darkest hour, it was the adaptability and unconventional thinking of our human allies that lit the way forward. As we look to the future, we must remember this lesson. In a universe of infinite diversity, our greatest strength lies not in rigid adherence to tradition, but in our ability to adapt, to innovate, and to embrace new ideas." Human ingenuity unleashed. In the years following the Zorn War, the Galactic Alliance entered a period of unprecedented change and innovation. The conflict had exposed weaknesses in the Alliance's traditional approaches, and there was a galaxy-wide push to adapt and evolve. At the forefront of this renaissance were the humans, their creativity and adaptability now recognized as invaluable assets. Alliance species that had once looked down on humanity's primitive technology now eagerly sought partnerships with human scientists and engineers. One of the most significant developments came in the field of faster-than-light, FTL, travel. For millennia, the Alliance had relied on stable wormhole networks for interstellar travel, limiting expansion to systems where these natural phenomena occurred. Humanity's discovery of the Hammond drive changed everything. Dr. Elena Hammond, a brilliant human physicist, had been fascinated by the Zorn's ability to generate temporary wormholes for their ships. Working with a team of Vanxa energy specialists and Alorian Shins, she developed a drive that could create artificial, short-lived wormholes. The implications were staggering. Suddenly, every star in the galaxy was within reach. The Alliance Council, recognizing the potential for both exploration and strategic advantage, fast-tracked the development and implementation of the Hammond drive. But FTL travel was just the beginning. Human ingenuity, combined with the advanced knowledge of other Alliance species, led to breakthroughs in numerous fields. In medicine, the integration of human stem cell research with Illyrian regenerative biotechnology resulted in treatments that could regrow lost limbs and organs for a wide variety of species. The head of the Alliance Medical Corps, Dr. Zira, marveled at the possibilities. "We're not just treating injuries and illnesses anymore," she declared. "We're redefining the boundaries of life itself." The realm of artificial intelligence saw equally dramatic advancements. Human neural network designs, merged with the quantum computing capabilities of the fractions, gave birth to a new generation of AI that skirted the edge of true sentience. These AIs became invaluable in managing the increasingly complex logistics of the expanding Alliance. Even in the arts, human influence was profound. The emotional resonance of human music, combined with the synesthetic compositions of the Malorians, created new art forms that could be experienced on multiple sensory levels simultaneously. Galactic culture was transforming, becoming more dynamic and diverse than ever before. But perhaps the most profound change was in the Alliance's approach to problem-solving and decision-making. The success of human-inspired strategies during the Zorn War had demonstrated the value of flexibility and outside-the-box thinking. The Galactic Academy, once a bastion of traditional knowledge, underwent a radical restructuring. New courses were introduced that focused on creative problem-solving, adaptive strategy, and cross-species collaboration. The goal was to cultivate a new generation of leaders who could think as innovatively as humans while drawing on the strengths of all Alliance species. Professor Zixera, now the Dean of the Academy, oversaw this transformation with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "We're charting a course into unknown territory," she told her staff. "But if the Zorn War taught us anything, it's that the unknown is where we'll find our greatest strengths." The integration of human approaches wasn't always smooth. Many traditionalists within the Alliance resisted what they saw as a dismantling of time-honored ways. There were protests, political battles, and at times, even small-scale conflicts as some worlds pushed back against the wave of human-inspired changes. One particularly contentious issue was the human concept of democracy. Many Alliance worlds had been governed by the same ruling classes for millennia, and the idea of regular elections and term limits was seen as a recipe for chaos. Yet, as humans took on more prominent roles in the Alliance government, their democratic ideals began to spread. The Fractian hegemony was one of the first major Alliance powers to experiment with democracy, holding its first-ever general election 10 years after the end of the Zorn War. The process was messy and fraught with challenges, but it marked a significant shift in how power was distributed in the galaxy. As these changes swept through Alliance space, they caught the attention of other galactic civilizations. The Isolates, a group of xenophobic species that had long shunned contact with the Alliance, began to cautiously reach out, intrigued by reports of the Alliance's new dynamism. Even more significantly, explorers using the Hammond drive made first contact with several new spacefaring species in previously unreachable parts of the galaxy. These encounters, managed using protocols developed jointly by human diplomats and Illyrian empaths, led to a rapid expansion of the Alliance. 20 years after the end of the Zorn War, the Galactic Alliance had transformed almost beyond recognition. It was larger, more diverse, and more adaptable than ever before. Humans, once seen as upstart newcomers, were now viewed as invaluable members of galactic society, their unique perspectives sought after in every field. Admiral Corax, now serving on the Alliance Council, reflected on this transformation during a speech at the Galactic Academy's centennial celebration. 2 decades ago, we faced an enemy that nearly destroyed us, he said, his mandibles clicking with emotion. We survived not because of our strength or our technology, but because we were willing to change, to adapt, to see the universe in new ways. Our human allies showed us that our greatest weapon is not any device or strategy, but our ability to continuously evolve. He gestured to the diverse crowd of students before him, representing dozens of species from across the galaxy. Look around you. This is the future of our alliance, not a single, unchanging entity, but a living, growing, adapting organism. We face unknown challenges in the vastness of space, but as long as we maintain this spirit of innovation and collaboration, there is no obstacle we cannot overcome. As Corax finished his speech to thunderous applause, a young human cadet turned to her Vaxi classmate. "So," she said with a grin, ready to rewrite the rules of the universe. The Vaxi's tentacles rippled in what had become the species' approximation of a human smile. "With you humans around," it replied, "I have a feeling that's going to be a regular occurrence." As the celebration continued, news arrived that an Alliance expedition had made a groundbreaking discovery in a distant galaxy. Once, such news might have been met with trepidation. Now it was greeted with excitement and anticipation. The Galactic Alliance, reshaped by human ingenuity and adaptability, was ready for whatever the universe had in store. A new era of warfare. Humans reshaped galactic military doctrine. The transformation of the Galactic Alliance following the Zorn War and the subsequent period of rapid innovation had profound implications for military doctrine. The traditional approach to warfare, based on rigid hierarchies and standardized tactics, had proven woefully inadequate against the Zorn threat. Now, under the influence of human military thinking, a new paradigm was emerging. At the heart of this shift was the new Galactic Defense Academy, established on Earth to train the next generation of Alliance military leaders. The Academy's motto, "Adapt, Innovate, Overcome," encapsulated the new ethos of Alliance military doctrine. Fleet Admiral Kira Chen, a veteran of the Zorn War and now the commandant of the Academy, stood before the inaugural class. The auditorium was filled with cadets from every Alliance species, their diverse forms a testament to the new, inclusive nature of the military. "Welcome, future guardians of the Alliance," Admiral Chen began. "You're here because the galaxy is changing, and our approach to its defense must change with it. The old ways of warfare, predictable, honorable, and rigid, are obsolete. Our potential adversaries are as diverse as the stars themselves, and our strategies must be equally varied." Over the next few years, the cadets would be immersed in a curriculum that blended traditional military science with radical new concepts. Courses on adaptive strategy, inspired by human military history, taught students to think flexibly and creatively in the face of changing circumstances. Simulations based on historical human conflicts, from ancient battles to 21st century asymmetric warfare, challenged cadets to find unconventional solutions to military problems. But it wasn't just tactics that were changing. The very structure of the Alliance military was undergoing a radical overhaul. Inspired by human special forces units, the Alliance began forming small, elite, multi-species teams designed to operate autonomously in a variety of environments. These Rapid Adaptive Response Teams, RARTs, combined the unique abilities of different species with cutting-edge technology and unconventional training. A typical RART might include a human strategist, a Vaxi tech specialist, a Malorian Shin, and an Illyrian bioengineer, all equipped with the latest in adaptive combat systems. The formation of the RARTs was not without controversy. Many traditional military leaders saw them as a threat to established command structures, but their effectiveness in handling a series of border skirmishes and piracy suppression operations quickly silenced most critics. One of the most significant changes in Alliance military doctrine was the emphasis on information warfare. The Zorn conflict had demonstrated the critical importance of disrupting enemy communications and decision-making processes. Now, every Alliance ship and military installation was equipped with advanced electronic warfare suites, many based on repurposed human hacking tools. The Alliance also began to place a much greater emphasis on unconventional weapons development. The Asymmetric Warfare Division, led by the brilliant but eccentric Dr. Xander Voss, became known for its off-the-wall weapon concepts, from swarms of microscopic robots capable of disassembling enemy ships at the molecular level to gravity manipulation devices that could turn a planet's own mass against it. The AWD pushed the boundaries of what was possible in warfare. Not all of these experimental weapons were successful, and more than a few resulted in spectacular and occasionally humorous failures. But the willingness to experiment, to try new approaches even at the risk of failure, became a hallmark of the new Alliance military culture. This culture of innovation extended to strategic thinking as well. The Strategic Simulations Division, using advanced AI systems derived from human video game technology, ran millions of potential conflict scenarios daily. These simulations helped identify potential threats before they emerged and develop counter-strategies for a vast array of possible enemy tactics. As news of the Alliance's military transformation spread, it had a deterrent effect on potential adversaries. The Voidborn Concordat, a rival power that had been considering expansion into Alliance territory, abruptly backed down after observing Alliance wargames. Their strategies are too unpredictable, the Voidborn Supreme Commander reportedly said. We cannot calculate the odds of success against an enemy whose next move we cannot anticipate. But perhaps the most profound change in Alliance military doctrine was the integration of civilian scientific and technological innovation. Inspired by humanity's history of repurposing civilian technology for military use, the Alliance established the Convergence Initiative, a program that brought together military strategists, civilian scientists, and business innovators to develop new defense technologies. This collaboration led to breakthroughs like the Quantum Entanglement Communication Network, which provided instantaneous, uninterceptable communication across vast distances, and the Biotech Combat Enhancement System, which allowed soldiers to temporarily adapt their biology to hostile environments. 50 years after the Zorn War, the Alliance military had evolved into something that would have been unrecognizable to its pre-war self. It was more flexible, more innovative, and more integrated with civilian society than ever before. During the centennial celebration of humanity's admission to the Alliance, Fleet Admiral Chen, now nearing retirement, gave a speech reflecting on this transformation. "A century ago, we thought we knew what warfare was," she said. "We had our fleets, our codes of conduct, our time-honored strategies. Then humanity joined us, and shortly after, we faced an enemy that nearly destroyed us all. In our darkest hour, it was human adaptability and unconventional thinking that lit the way forward." She gestured to the holographic display behind her, showing the latest innovations in Alliance military technology. "Look at us now. We've taken those lessons and run with them. Our military isn't just a fighting force anymore. It's an engine of innovation, a problem-solving tool that extends far beyond the battlefield." As if to punctuate her words, an alert suddenly flashed across the holographic display. Admiral Chen's eyes widened as she read the message. Then she turned back to the audience with a grim smile. "It seems the universe has decided to give us a practical demonstration," she said. "We've just received word of an unknown entity approaching Alliance space. Its capabilities exceed anything in our database." The crowd murmured in concern, but Chen raised a hand for silence. "This, my friends, is exactly what we've been preparing for. Unknown challenges require adaptable solutions. Let's show the galaxy what the new Alliance military can do." Over the next few weeks, the galaxy watched in awe as the Alliance responded to this new threat. The unknown entity, later dubbed the Phantom Singularity, defied conventional physics, seeming to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Traditional weapons passed harmlessly through it, and standard sensors couldn't get a clear reading on its structure or intentions. It was exactly the kind of threat that would have paralyzed the old Alliance military. But the new doctrine, shaped by human influence, proved its worth. Rapid adaptive response teams were deployed to gather data, their diverse compositions allowing them to approach the problem from multiple angles. The Strategic Simulations Division worked overtime, running countless scenarios to predict the entity's behavior. Dr. Voss and his Asymmetric Warfare Division dusted off a theoretical weapon they'd been tinkering with, a device capable of manipulating the fabric of space-time itself. It had been considered too unstable and dangerous for practical use, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Meanwhile, the Convergence Initiative brought together the brightest minds from across the Alliance. In a stroke of brilliance, a human physicist and a Fractian quantum engineer developed a theory that the Phantom Singularity wasn't a weapon or a ship, but a sentient being from a higher dimension, accidentally phased into our reality. Armed with this knowledge, the Alliance took a radical approach. Instead of trying to destroy the entity, they used Dr. Voss's space-time manipulator to open a controlled rift, allowing them to communicate with the Phantom Singularity in its own dimensional language. The gamble paid off. The entity, far from being hostile, was simply lost and confused. With the Alliance's help, it was able to return to its home dimension. As a parting gift, it shared insights into higher dimensional physics that would keep Alliance scientists busy for decades. As the crisis passed, Admiral Chen stood once again before the Galactic Assembly. "What we've just witnessed," she said, "is the culmination of a century of evolution in our approach to galactic defense. We faced an entirely unknown entity, a challenge beyond anything we'd encountered before. And we not only survived, we turned it into an opportunity for growth and discovery." She paused, looking out at the assembled representatives of countless worlds. "This is the legacy of human influence on our military doctrine. The willingness to adapt, to think outside the box, to see challenges as opportunities. We've moved beyond mere warfare into a new paradigm of galactic problem-solving." The assembly erupted in applause, and as Chen stepped down from the podium, she couldn't help but smile. The galaxy was vast and full of unknowns, but with this new approach, forged in the crucible of human ingenuity and Alliance diversity, they were ready for anything the universe might throw at them. Conclusion. As the story of the Galactic Alliance's transformation comes to a close, we're left with a profound appreciation for the power of adaptability and unconventional thinking. The integration of human military strategies and problem-solving approaches didn't just save the Alliance from the Zorn threat. It catapulted galactic civilization into a new era of innovation and discovery. From the classrooms of the Galactic Academy to the front lines of cosmic anomalies, the impact of human ingenuity can be seen everywhere. The Alliance, once rigid and set in its ways, has become a dynamic, ever-evolving entity, ready to face the unknown with creativity and courage. As we look to the future, one thing is certain. In a universe of infinite possibilities, the ability to think outside the box, to challenge conventions, and to adapt to the unexpected will always be humanity's greatest contribution to the stars.